Hi, everyone. Babula and I are back with another episode of Astrology Now. Hello, Babula. How are you?
Hi, Cheryl. Doing pretty good. All things considered, with everything happening with the planets.
I know, and March is a big month with, with Saturn but a breath away from its shift in Pisces. And
Yes, there's a lot happening this month.
yeah, and all the conjunctions. And of course, we're going to be coming up with, Pluto's been knocking on the door of Aquarius for quite some
Yes.
time. And this month's finally going to open the door and say, okay, come on in.
That's right. Yeah,
So there's a sense that something big is shifting.
that's
And
right.
when it does, the personal and collective shift, I think we'll experience might just knock some of us off our feet. So stay with us as we plunge headlong into this episode to peel back the many layers of the current planetary dance. Okay, Babula, so what there's so much going on this month. I don't even know where to start. So I'm going to let you kick it off from where you want to start.
Okay. Well, I might just do a kind of sequential thing to start with to get the ball rolling. Yeah, it's an action-packed month in terms of, the movements of the planets. And, myself and other astrologers have been saying this for months, like March is the biggie.
Yeah.
And this time of year the sun's always in Pisces, so it's the Piscean month. All the Pisceans are having their birthdays. And but there's just a lot of big movements and big shifts and big changes energetically taking place. So I want to start with March the 2nd, the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, which is worth just briefly mentioning because these two planets are very visible in the sky, in the night sky. In fact, just after sunset, if we look to the west, if we've got a clear sky, we will see Venus and Jupiter as the two bright stars together. They're actually together right now. And, they're called traditionally in astrology the benefics, meaning they're regarded as bringing great benefit. Venus is the love principle. Jupiter is all about growth and expansion and opportunity and good fortune and so on. So, it's a lovely coming together. But of course, they're also sitting with the planet Chiron. So on the 2nd, Venus makes an exact conjunction with Jupiter at 12 degrees of Aries.
Well, actually, can I just interject something there?
Please do.
Because, and this is just a perspective thing. Of course, Jupiter and Venus look very close, but actually they're still 400 million miles apart or 600 million kilometers. But, but when we're talking about planets, that's not that far at all.
No, that's right. And if you see them in the sky, even on that actual conjunction, you still see a gap between them.
Yeah.
Even visibly, but yeah, that's as close together as they're going to get.
Yeah.
But in terms of the degrees of the sign of Aries, it's exact. And that's been true, all through the last week or so of February, all through the first week or so of March, as Venus then pulls away because she's the faster moving body. But this beautiful dance between these wonderful two energies of great light.
Yeah.
I think of little babies being born on this beautiful Venus-Jupiter conjunction. Wowee, that's, lucky them. That's gorgeous.
Yeah. So with Venus and, the which governs, love and relationships and values and money.
Yes.
And then coming in, conjunction with Jupiter, that expands all that. But then in Aries, what does that mean?
Well, that's where it gets interesting, isn't it? Because, Venus is the love principle, the feminine, the goddess, in a very masculine sign of Aries. So, and the fiery sign of Aries. So it can be things like making bold new moves in relationship, like making contact with that person you've been admiring from afar, or anything to do with creativity and creative expression, like to get a new project off the ground, because Aries is about fresh beginnings, new beginnings. Let's get this thing moving. And as Venus is the heart, there's actually a lot of passion here. Anybody born with Venus in Aries is a pretty passionate person.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so it's passion, enthusiasm, follow your heart, move forward into new situations, projects, ideas from the heart, and expect that things are going to open up and expand because it's sitting there with Jupiter.
Yeah, and I think too, because it's in Aries, because Aries is, it's the warrior, it's the hero, it's courageous and brave. So it's sort of expanding that within ourselves as well.
It is definitely,
It's having courage. Yeah.
yeah, courage. That's right, courage, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I posted on Facebook a little bit about this with some images, and one of the images was of a woman dressed as a warrior, with fire and flames everywhere in her hair, and she's got a hand on a heart. So it's that sense of the warrior of the heart.
Yes.
Or fighting for what we love or what we deeply believe in or what is true for us, for what we deeply value, and standing up for that. And of course, Jupiter is truth. So we can take it there, like, this is what I love, this is what is true for me. And I will stand here and declare that and fight for that if necessary. It's got that kind of quality about it.
I'm so having a Xena warrior princess moment.
Exactly. Exactly. It was very Venus in Aries, and fighting for truth and justice, yeah, and for the good and the higher good.
Yeah. I'm wondering how it might affect finances. What do you think?
Well, it could be boldly going into a new venture. Aries likes to take a risk.
It's very risk taking.
Yeah, so that's just something to be aware of, like to make sure you're crossing a few T's and double checking things. It can be very prone to, reckless risk taking. But it could also be, I've been holding back. Now it's time to go for it.
Yes, yeah. And it could be because Jupiter's there, it could be lucky.
Absolutely.
You might be taking the right risk.
Well, I actually have bought a lotto ticket, on the day of the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. Right? Because why not?
Yes. Why not?
Why not? That's right. Venus-Jupiter conjunction.
Yes.
And then the next day, the 3rd, Mercury makes an exact conjunction with Saturn, which is at 29 degrees of Aquarius before, just a few days before it leaves Aquarius. Mercury joins with Saturn, and later that morning, Mercury will actually leave Aquarius and go into Pisces.
Pisces, yeah.
Right. So, yeah. So there's already just on the 2nd and 3rd, 2 shifts of energy. And I'll just drop this in as well for those who are curious about asteroids. One of my favorite asteroid goddesses, Hygeia, the goddess of health, healing, and medicine, makes an exact conjunction with Pluto, also at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So Hygeia's been moving, up closer and closer to Pluto for a couple of weeks now. So they've been together, but that conjunction is exact on the 3rd while Mercury's conjunct Saturn. So we're seeing already, and this will continue through March, like a number of conjunctions, planets joining together, joining their energies and combining their energies. And when you get conjunctions, it's like there's always a sense of a new cycle beginning in terms of those two planets and their relationship with each other.
Yeah, right. Okay. So just going back to that, which I'm interested in. Sorry if I'm
No, please. No, ask questions. That's great. I love that.
I think you said Sun conjunct Mercury in Pisces. Is that what you said?
No, Mercury conjunct Saturn.
Yes.
at late Aquarius, and then Mercury on the same day moves into Pisces.
That's right. That's right. So with Mercury in Pisces, because I'm thinking Mercury is communication, Pisces is dreams. You know, it's dreams, it's aspirations as well, I suppose.
Yes.
And it's quite spiritual, and it's about prayer and all that. So I'm
Yes.
thinking, you know, could that be about communicating our dreams, or, you know, even wondering what is our dream? What is my personal dream? You know.
That's right. See, straight away, you know, just saying I'm wondering, like that's very just wondering and
Yeah.
wonder. And so it's a shift when Mercury for 3 weeks has been in Aquarius. So that's very much the mind is very switched on, very engaged, yeah, very activated. It's very strong in Aquarius. And the meeting with Saturn, which has been building up for days, gives tremendous focus to the mind. As soon as it moves into Pisces, all of a sudden there's a change of energy.
Yeah.
And we've moved almost immediately into the right brain.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, into imagination.
Yeah.
Um,
Mysticism.
symbolism, imagery, music, you know, communicating through imagery, through music, through prayer, through meditation, through silence, through gesture. So the mind's going to be less focused and linear and more flowing, intuitive, feeling its way, you know, open to more mystical kinds of energies and influences.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's the messenger between the seen and the unseen realms, right?
Exactly. Beautiful. Yes, exactly. Mercury in Pisces can be very poetic too. You know, it's a beautiful, so Mercury will be in Pisces now for almost the rest of March. It doesn't leave, it's actually moving quite quickly. It leaves Pisces on the 19th. So it's actually moving really fast. So it's a time when the mind wants to relax. Like, what do we need to do to relax our very busy, activated minds?
Binge watch Netflix or something.
That's right.
Or Stan or Prime, whatever you like.
Yeah, or that's right.
Yes.
Or just really take time out to just sit and gaze out the window, like really, because it's in those moments often amazing insights or revelations or thoughts or things from the unconscious can sort of arise that don't if we're just busy thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of my shortfalls, I think, because I have a fairly active life because I like to be productive.
Yes.
Much like we've talked about before. Both
Yes.
of us are like that. And I don't spend nearly as much time in silence
Yes.
as I'd like to, because when I do, it's not so much that I have a busy mind, but it's almost like it's a luxury.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
And I'm thinking, that's crazy. That's just insane thinking that sort of thing. Give your mind a break. You lay down when you're tired, so give your body a break. Why not your mind?
That's right. And it's in those, I'm the same, and it's in those periods of quiet often that things arise that are really valuable and important, you know. And so we've got these 2.5 weeks or so where if we're wise, we'll be making space for our busy minds to relax, to take some time out, to dream, to imagine, to do anything that's creative where there's not a lot of pressure.
Yes.
And time pressure. If we can ease back on the scheduling, you know, which isn't always easy, just to create a bit more space to just hang out with ourselves, just quietly, you know, sitting under a tree with a cup of tea, not really doing very much at all. It does feel like a luxury, which is crazy. It's nuts because that can be very, very fertile time. Not that we do it for that, but I think it's when we're in the Pisces period and there's a strong Pisces influence, which we're absolutely coming into. If we're wise, we will make space for an allowance for that. You know, to really allow ourselves to open more and more to that. So yeah, that's the invitation, everybody, to really, just to take some time out and make some space. It reminds me of little children who say, I'm bored. And yet it's in those moments of, there's nothing to do. Often something really creative arises in that empty space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like last weekend, I know you had your wonderful painting party on, which I wanted to go to, but I was also doing so much else. Something had to give, and I just said, no, I've got to have a day off.
That's right. Can't do everything.
Can't do everything. And of course, being a Sagittarian, I want to do everything,
Of course.
many fingers and many pies. But, I think I'm starting to learn that lesson
Yes.
finally.
Yeah. And it can, and this is Pisces too. It's like sometimes we just have to give certain things up. That's why Pisces is often called the sign of sacrifice. And again, if we're wise, we will make choices. And I know it was a struggle. I know you really wanted to be there, and but you put your needs first, and so you sacrificed your desire to come to that, because you would have enjoyed it. Because actually your need for a break was stronger. So
it was, yeah.
So I think that's a really valuable thing to consider and ponder for everyone during this very Piscean period, particularly when Saturn comes into Pisces very soon. What are we ready to give up and let go of, to relinquish? Yeah. Because we're all in so many, well, I don't say all, most people that I'm aware of are in a state of overwhelm.
Yeah, and a lot of it we do to ourselves.
A lot of it we do to ourselves.
And our kids, to kids too, who have all these extracurricular activities.
That's right. Busy, constantly on the go.
Yeah. I didn't have that as a child. I grew up in the 60s.
No, we had a lot of time and space to just hang out.
And I had a lot of imagination.
That's for me too.
What's going on? Yeah, it was time to have imagination.
That's right. That's right.
So
yeah, this is really quite important. So then on the 4th, Venus, because we've got this triple conjunction going on all through this first week of Venus, Jupiter, and Chiron. So Venus makes the exact conjunction to Jupiter on the 2nd at 12 Aries. And then she meets Chiron exactly at almost 14 of Aries on the 4th. But they're really dancing together. So the Chironic piece is super interesting. And so I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, because on the 12th, Jupiter will actually make an exact conjunction with Chiron. So the three of them are dancing together. So I think it would be helpful if we talk a bit about Chiron.
Yes.
Because he's very present, very much through the month of March, along with all these other things that are going on, big things that are going on. There's a number of big things happening in March. So Chiron, of course, is the archetype of the wounded healer. And I have long regarded him as a very shamanic kind of figure, a very, very wise soul, a wise being. I have a lot of love and respect, and I will even use the word reverence for Chiron. And his own personal journey includes his own various expressions of wounding, which, the story of the mythology is wonderful. It's very rich and multi-layered and gives us a lot of insight into what this is about, but won't be time for that today. But the core, to me, one of the core themes around the wounding of it that Chiron represents is themes to do with separation. Separation and alienation.
Misunderstanding.
In all the different ways that can manifest in our life.
How people can feel misunderstood, which then alienates them.
Exactly. And separation from what? And that includes spiritually separation from source, from God, from the divine, but separation in relationships, separation in childhood from family, from parents. There's so many layers to this. It's a big theme in the human condition, I think, separation. And then, of course, in the story, he's also wounded physically. So Chiron will often manifest as physical illness or injury or physical ailments that take us on a healing journey. So the whole healing part, so it's both the wounding and the healing.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So the wounded healer.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Go on. Go on.
I was going to say, I think it also transforms the scars of the wound into a gift or into beauty somehow. And I was thinking that, you know, I've seen images of women who have their breasts removed because of cancer, and but then they put a tattoo over it.
That's right.
You know, that sort of thing. So it's like that whole transformational journey.
That's right. There's an embracing of that. And I think one of the key messages with Chiron is that a Band-Aid won't fix this. You know, we live in a society where often quick Band-Aid fixes are the go. Whether it's here, give me a drug to fix this problem, right? But the real process with Chiron is to go on the journey. You know, the wound has opened. This happens when we're having transits of Chiron to something in our chart, or a transit of a planet to our own natal Chiron. So when Chiron's active in some way in our lives, there's, you know, wounding is going to show up, and it can show up as themes around separation and alienation, or just, why do I feel so terrible? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me is often a very common experience with Chiron. There must be something wrong with me. Yeah.
Yeah, or why do I feel so different?
That's right.
Yeah, the alien.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Or it will show up in the form of something going on with the body, you know, an illness, an injury, a disability, those kinds of things.
I wonder if Chiron in Aquarius would be more to do with the feelings of alienation, but Chiron's in Aries this time, isn't it? So it's
that's right.
Your personal identity and your,
that's right,
you know, your self-confidence, those sorts of
things. And your individuality. It's in Chiron's in journeying through Aries now for these 9 years. Right, so it's now sort of coming towards the midpoint. Like the Jupiter Chiron conjunction occurs at 14 degrees. So it's kind of halfway through this 9-year period through the sign of Aries. And so that's a whole piece in itself. You know, what is that about for all of humanity while Chiron journeys through Aries? You know, what's the wound in Aries?
Yeah.
And what is the healing that's on offer here? Right. So I think the wound has got a lot to do with the masculine, the wounded masculine, the wounded warrior, the wounded spirit, wounded sense of identity, of individuality, of lack of courage, fear of our own anger, fear of stepping forward boldly into the unknown, you know, holding back, or I've noticed this often for many women. Not always, but quite often. And it depends on other things in the chart backing this story up as well. Often there's a real fear of anger, but they're in their lives, they have angry people in their lives, but they're afraid of their own anger. So they allow other people to dominate the space. But inside there's this anger welling up. And it's not until they're able to meet that and begin to let that come out, that, you know, that real healing of that. And then when that starts to come out, of course, the whole life starts to change.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so there's some of the things, but big issues in the collective around the wounded masculine and the disarmed, emasculated masculine, and so on and so on.
Yeah. I think that I'm a woman commenting in a man's world, which is not fair, but I'm just going to say from a woman's perspective,
yes,
for men, you know, courage, boldness, standing up for oneself, ready to defend others or yourself if you have to. But when they can't, when there's a wound around that, I think you can have a feeling of inadequacy, perhaps.
Yes.
Like I can't do that, or I just don't have the courage to do it. So yeah, I think there's a lot of inadequacy there.
Yes, and I think also a lot of guilt and shame. It's complex. There's a lot of layers here. It's a big piece. It's a big story. Chiron doesn't spend the same amount of time in every sign. Its orbit isn't perfectly circular. It's quite elliptical. So Aries is the sign that it spends the longest amount of time in. So every 50 years, it's spending these 8 to 9 years or so in the sign of Aries, and that's where we're at right now, which is interesting when you look at the world we currently live in. There's all kinds of themes around war and conflict and anger and aggression and violence and all this stuff. So this conjunction of Venus to Chiron on the 4th, leading up to the full moon on the 7th. And then on the 12th, there'll be the Jupiter-Chiron conjunction. So I think there's a lot. That's why there's so many different pieces in the month of March. It's like, how do you put all that together? And there's no way we can describe the month of March in a couple of sentences because there's so many different energies going on.
But I will say that Venus coming in there into Aries, I was reading on the world stage on the news that there is a growing movement, almost which could grow into the same anti-war movement that we had back years ago, that's starting to grow again in the United States. People don't want these wars going on, and I thought that's the Venus coming in, and saying, no, we don't want all that anger and aggression and all that.
Yes, the women.
Yeah, it was men too.
Yes. Yes. And so Venus in Aries can be the man too, with his hand on his heart. Enough, that's right.
Interesting, which builds relationship, doesn't it?
That's right.
Venus,
that's right. So this, now, just true, before we move on from that, the other thing on a personal level, medically speaking, Aries, of course, is the head, which can include things like strokes, and the blood, which is related to strokes as well. It can be as straightforward as headaches, headaches, any injuries to the head, injuries to muscles, to red blood. These are or anything going on in the head, the face, this whole eyes, this whole area can really show up during this period. I've noticed, even with myself, I had a bit of a dental issue in the last 2 weeks. It's resolved now, but still my head doesn't feel right. Like, there was all this tension and pressure in my head. I feel like, I think I need to, just occurred to me right now, thanks for this conversation, I've just seen what I need to do. I think I need to go and get some craniosacral work done, just to release some, feels like there's all this kind of blocked energy in my neck and my head.
Good idea.
Yeah, Chiron in Aries, being very strongly activated by this Venus and Jupiter. Too much head energy. Jupiter, too much.
Excess. Way too
all
much.
gone up into the head. Hot head. Aries, hot head.
True.
Years ago, when my dad, I won't go into the whole story, but he ended up with dementia and went a bit, kind of lost his mental faculties. And one day, he's passed now, but one day when I was visiting, I just went and spontaneously I put my hands on his head. And I could feel the Reiki energy pouring in. It was like his brain was on fire.
Yeah.
Like, I thought, no wonder he's got, this is what I'm feeling it. It was literally on fire. And he had Aries rising. you know, like all this heat in the brain and the head. No wonder he was going through what he was going through. So yeah, but that's Chiron in Aries, you know, paying attention to what's happening with our head, our brain, our blood, right? Okay. So it brings us to the full moon.
Ooh.
It was a while to get here, but here we are, the full moon. This is a doozy. On the 7th of March at 10:40 p.m. exactly Queensland time. It'll be an hour later clock time in the southern states. The full moon occurs at 16 degrees and 40 minutes of Virgo, opposite the sun at 16:40 of Pisces. Smack in the middle of the sign. Now, an hour later, less than an hour later, Saturn moves to 0 degrees and 0 minutes of Pisces.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been there since about 1994. So
Mm.
that's pretty stunning that both of these things are happening on the same date, but also within an hour of each other. So
Yeah.
this full moon is very powerful. And you know, just the fact that Saturn's moving into Pisces would give us enough to have a big conversation about, but the fact that it's happening on the full moon as well is pretty remarkable, really. So this is a big theme. Saturn will be in Pisces now for almost 3 years, finally leaving Aquarius, where it's been particularly strong, and bringing its energy and influence to the sign of Pisces. So yes, I hardly even know what to say. Like, where do I start?
Let me give an example.
Great. Get me started.
Okay, get you started. Because you know, Saturn is it's quite grounding and it gives structure. And I was thinking about this, about how and Pisces is a water sign. And then I checked the date that they opened the English Channel, and it coincided with the Saturn in Pisces transit. You know, the channel that goes from the UK to France, vice versa. Yeah, under the channel. So yeah, I thought, wow, that's interesting.
That's brilliant, because Saturn is absolutely construction, structures in the ocean.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, so we can use those wonderful images and metaphors, you know, of like building a wall to try and hold back the tidal wave kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. The only thing is, Saturn is structure and organization, but Pisces doesn't really like that, Babula.
No, it doesn't.
No.
I can attest to same. It does not. You know, it's the ocean, it's the sea, it's the fish swimming freely in the ocean. It doesn't want to be bound by systems and structures or time. I was thinking about this morning. You know, I've realized for decades that my relationship with time is very kind of we're very nebulous. You know, I work hard at being on time for things. I have to really work at that and be very conscious about being on time. And often I make it to events by the skin of my teeth, you know, just on time, in the nick of time. I used to always be late. So because in Pisces, we're kind of in a timeless zone, actually.
Yeah.
And it's a sign that represents an energy that is boundaryless.
Yes.
Completely open.
Yes.
Yep. Transcendent, open, mystical. There's no lines and borders and barriers. And Saturn's all about structure and organization. And, you know, and in the world, it's represented by things like walls and stone and buildings and
Yeah. And I think I said last episode, or I said it to you privately, I can't remember. But I see Saturn in Pisces as like, you know, a ship on the ocean, looking out over the water, endless, and I can't see any land anywhere. But then you've got the lookout up the mast, who's up there, and then go, because so the ocean is all endless and boundless, and the people on the ship might think that that's it's just a planet of water, but then this guy up here yells out, land ahoy.
Land ahoy. I see land, that's right.
So it's just, it's, you know, the ocean is bound by, well, it's not really, but there are solid things in it.
Exactly. And just like a lake is held by the land, and a river is held by its banks, by its physicality, and we as spirit are held, bound, if you like, by these physical bodies.
Yes, yes.
And this is a reality for anyone who's Piscean or has a lot of Pisces, Neptune influence in the chart. They will be familiar with what often feels like a bit of a struggle with just the reality of just being here in a physical body.
Yeah.
But so Saturn's all about reality. You know,
I'm having a little thought here. I'm writing it down before I forget.
Right. Yeah, great. Yeah, exactly. Because we forget things.
Yeah. Well,
Like I will often say something in a class or a workshop because it's just flowing through me, and someone will say, can you repeat that?
Yeah.
And I literally go, what did I just say?
Yeah. And I think that's because a lot of us channel information when we're teaching and we don't realize it.
That's right. We don't realize it until someone says, can you repeat what you just said? And I'm well, I'm not really sure what I just said.
Yeah. But you know what, I was having a giggle at it. That Saturn in Pisces also reminds me of because Saturn's a reality checker. Remember that movie with Nicolas Cage and Cher called Moonstruck?
Oh.
And there's a part in there where he's, you know, I can't remember what he's saying, and she just slapped him across the face and says, snap out of it. And I think that's really Saturn. I think he was dreaming or having some sort of imagination. She goes, snap out of it. So that's really Saturn in Pisces for me.
It is. And you reminded me to go and watch that movie again because it's fantastic. You see, and in Pisces, we love the romance, you know, of a film like that. And so I think that's something we can do, particularly while the sun's still in Pisces and our Mercury's in Pisces over these next weeks. Like, watching movies like that is fantastic.
Yeah. I'm going to do it too.
Yeah, I haven't seen that for years. I love it. Fabulous film. So yes, this is a pretty big deal, Saturn coming into Pisces. You know, astrologers are talking about it all over the world and writing about it. There's a lot to say about it. I've spoken before about the symbolism of the two fish, you know, and how you've got one fish that represents our connection to source, to the divine, to soul, to God, to spirit. And the other fish is swimming down around here in this 3D realm, in these bodies, in this world, in this, all the challenges of human life. But there's always a part of us in Pisces, whether you have planets there or not. Everyone's got Pisces somewhere in their chart. And now it's getting, you know, very busy with all these energies going through Pisces. So that part of you, everyone's chart's being really lit up and impacted strongly, whether you've got planets there or not. We will all be, particularly for these next 3 years with Saturn coming into this sign, strongly impacted by this sense of dealing with the harsh realities of this world we live in and our own personal lives, and the longing to live a life that's more soulful and meaningful and spiritual and connected in some way. You know?
Yeah. The last few years have lined us up to want that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And longing for that deeper sense of meaning, and you know, like this, and often we can feel like, God, the soul's been sucked out of my life. You know, it can feel like that. What am I going to do about that? And so depression can really become quite a strong theme in these next couple of years. We might be noticing that a lot of people around us might even start just feeling it energetically in the field. This kind of almost heaviness as people are struggling to come to terms with some pretty harsh realities.
Yeah. And I was thinking, you know, Pisces is they indulge in escapism.
That's right.
So So there's drugs come into it.
That's right.
And you've told me in the past, talk about things that we forget, but you've told me, and I think you did it in one of the episodes, that Alcoholics Anonymous was founded in 1935 during a transit of Saturn in Pisces.
Which is fantastic, because all forms of addiction, particularly alcohol, but drug addiction, alcohol addiction, drugs and alcohol are ruled by the sign of Pisces. But you could also pull in any kind of addictive behavior, but drugs and alcohol in particular, and I'm absolutely include pharmaceuticals in this, like illegal pharmaceuticals. I include all of it. Yes, Alcoholics Anonymous for many, many, many people has been a savior. And it's a system, isn't it? It has a structure. It's 12 steps. Do these steps, commit to them, Saturn, follow them diligently, draw on the support that the organization provides, right?
Yeah.
And you will find your way through this and free yourself from the yoke of that addiction.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a theme for these 3 years, addressing those. Saturn transits always bring us to a point where he says, time to deal with this, and I'm not going to let you off the hook. Yeah, so his methods can feel quite harsh, but when we take up the challenge and make the commitment to do the work, because work is absolutely a Saturn word.
Yeah, yeah.
As all Saturnian people know, right? Yes, hello. Then when we do that, then in time the reward comes and the achievement comes, but only because you've done the work. And that's part of the work that's going to happen individually and collectively as Saturn goes through Pisces.
Yeah.
So it can feel like, I think we're going to see a lot of grief, a lot of regret, a lot of I'm talking about the more challenging qualities of Saturn in Pisces, and we'll continue to talk about this over the next couple of years. There'll be moments where anybody will just be feeling despair. But the way through it is to really begin to align ourselves more and more with soul, with spirit, with source, with anything that connects us to spirituality, to soul, and to all the positive things that are represented by Pisces: prayer, meditation, art, creativity, letting go, letting go, letting go, emptying out, lightening our load.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm just thinking about, because I sort of think, and I've read this before, and I think that what underlies most addictions, actually, if I say all addictions, is, the longing for connection to divinity, basically.
Yes.
So there's a big hole when we can't have that connection. So we either fill our lives with the addictive things, and it doesn't have to be drugs. It can be chocolate, it can be shopping, whatever it is.
That's right. That's right.
But that's that longing for ecstasy.
That's right.
That's empty, and we're trying to, or we'll try and connect to other people's connection to the higher powers too. So you get this around people who drain your energy all the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely so. It's I remember years ago hearing that phrase, people looking for spirit in a bottle.
Yes.
It's called a spirit, isn't it? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Things like vodka are called spirits.
And we've got Neptune in Pisces until 2025.
Well, exactly.
So there's a lot of, there's a lot of I don't even know how to explain that with you've got Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces. I mean, how do you put that together?
Well, that's a good question. Neptune's been in Pisces since 2011 and still got a few years to go. And now Saturn, the absolute antithesis of Neptune and Pisces, is entering the same territory, these waters, and will slowly make its way towards Neptune. And, some people listening to this will have in their own birth chart a strong aspect or relationship between Saturn and Neptune. I do, for example. I was born on a Neptune-Saturn conjunction.
Ah.
In a different sign, of course, but so this combination and the struggle of this combination is very familiar.
Mm.
You know, that it's this combination of longing to escape the harsh realities and just live in existential spiritual bliss.
Mm.
And yet life keeps demanding, actually, no, there's dishes to be done, there's things you have to do, there's places you have to be, you've got obligations, you've got responsibilities, you've got to deal with your health, you've got to earn a living. It's how to kind of bring all of that together. It's like how to be enlightened and live in a state of bliss and joy while doing the dishes and dealing with your life.
Yeah, it's that saying, isn't it? Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
Exactly. I remember once years ago, I was sitting in a group listening to a spiritual teacher who was well known to many people, no longer with us. And someone asked him, like, he was just this guy in Australia, now that you're enlightened, what do you do with your time? And he said, oh, I go to Woolies and I walk up and down and I compare the prices and I, make decisions on what I'm going to, it's like life goes on.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and I don't think that humans in physical form are made to stay in that state.
That's right.
That's not what we're here for.
That's
we
right.
can have moments and glimpses of it,
That's
but we're
right.
on, our feet are on the earth.
And there's something about, as we have those moments, they call it satori in the Japanese Zen tradition, those moments where all of that opens up and it all just pours in and we're in absolute bliss. And then we come back to reality and there has to be an integration, but something's changed. There's something of that energy remains, but we can then long for it. Like, I want to get back there. I want to get back there.
I know, yeah, but yeah, it's the grounding of the woo-woo stuff, isn't it?
That's right. And, another way I often speak of Pisces is the agony and the ecstasy of life, because it is a sign where there is a lot of suffering.
Yeah.
I used to be very, I never used to like to use that word because it sounded very, I can't think of the word I want to use, very precious. But the truth is, human beings suffer. There's a lot of suffering on this planet. And so, yeah, it's the two fish, the agony and the ecstasy of it all. It's a sign of duality. Like Gemini, there's two twins.
Yeah.
Pisces is two fish, the duality of it all. So Saturn's going to be a challenging transit through Pisces, but it is a call for us to make a deeper commitment to soul, to spirit, whatever that. For some, that will mean I'm going to get up every morning at a certain time and I'm going to meditate and I'm committed to that. That's my priority. Or whatever it is, if it's, art or music, it's a real commitment to that, or whatever calls us, to be very committed, because the reward and the benefit will come in time. That's how Saturn works.
Yeah, yeah.
But if we can't do that, it's just, if we aren't willing to do that work on a soul level, this could be a very, very difficult transit for many.
Yeah, I mean, it's no small feat to merge the sacred with the mundane, that's for sure. I mean,
it is not.
It's a huge task that we all have to face.
That's right. That's right. It really is. Yeah. And it's another, Saturn to me is very much also about maturing. And so I think as it goes through the different signs, we can look at what are the qualities and issues and themes that are going through a process of maturation, of, growing up, becoming more mature, more wise. And so on Pisces, it's, themes around addiction, around what am I avoiding? What am I trying to escape from?
Yeah.
What am I, like some people just want to sit and watch TV all day. Meanwhile, their life is falling apart around them. Well,
Yeah, just correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Saturn the Lord of Karma as well?
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
So how does that fit into the Pisces scheme? That's an interesting
Well,
one.
yeah, I've been thinking about this lately, and this very thing I've often thought about karma, but it's been up for me lately, even in the last few days. And I think one way we can look at Pisces as the last sign of the zodiac is that I think if we come in with quite a lot going on in the sign of Pisces in our birth chart, that there is a lot of completing of karma going on. And that includes a certain amount of suffering.
Yep.
And that are we able to meet that suffering with an open heart and an open mind and accept it as a kind of clearing of karma? And I'm not talking about punishment. I don't mean it, because I don't believe that's what karma's about.
Yeah.
You know, it's more like, okay, you know, it's things like, why is this happening to me when something might be going on that's causing a lot of pain and suffering? Because it's a water signs, a lot of feelings in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, why is this going on? What have I done to cause this? Can come up. It just can spontaneously. That came up for me years ago. I remember one night I was in absolute emotional agony, and in the depths of despair, in the depths of the night, they were the words that rose up from my unconscious. It's, what have I done to deserve this? Because it wasn't anything I could see in my life. Right. And so then it makes me wonder, is there some kind of thread from past lives, you know? So I don't have an answer to this. I don't know definitively that this is what's going on, but I do wonder, and I do feel there's something going on about karma. And as Saturn, the Lord of karma, goes through Pisces, the last sign, is humanity facing now in these next 3 years some kind of karmic reckoning?
Yes. Yeah.
It's very Saturn, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Like, okay, people, it's time.
Mm.
Time before, because the exciting thing is that in early 2026, Saturn and Neptune both leave Pisces at the same time, and hand in hand, they walk together into Aries at 0 degrees of Aries. There is a conjunction of Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries. Talk about a completion and a new beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a lot of endings in all kinds of ways, including a lot of souls leaving this earth. A lot of, yep.
No, I was going to say, and throw Pluto moving into Aquarius in that mix.
I know. We haven't even got to that one yet. That's right. So there's no big stuff happening in March.
Yeah, yeah.
And Saturn's moving it. So like I would be paying attention to what it, you know, that day and that evening and the next couple of days as Saturn's sitting at 0, I'll be paying close attention to what I'm experiencing and what I'm feeling, what I'm seeing around me. I'll be noticing and watching and tuning in. But we've also got the full moon going on.
Yeah.
Across the Virgo Pisces axis. So where everything's heightened and exaggerated even more. It's going to be a really powerful day and a few days. Because even the Pisces Virgo axis is a bit of what we're talking about with Saturn, very practical Saturn in not practical Pisces. On a full moon in not practical Pisces, opposite very practical Virgo. You know, Virgo's very, you know, cross your T's, dot your I's.
All the details.
Deal with the details, fix what's broken. Perfection, get real, you know, very practical.
Yeah.
Interesting, huh?
No wonder it's so hard to synthesize it.
It's very hard to synthesize it.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's going on while the Jupiter Chiron conjunction's kind of happening as well, because then on the 12th, we have, not only will Jupiter be conjunct Chiron on the 12th, but at the same degree, joining that conjunction is one of the major asteroid goddess bodies. Her name is Vesta. She's the keeper of the sacred flame. She has a lot to do with spirit and the sacred and devotion. So that's going on the 12th. Big themes about new beginnings, healing, new pathways opening up. I think one of the things we're going to see in the collective is new healing avenues opening up that are actually already going on and have long been available, but I think they're going to come forward really strongly.
And maybe there's some validation for energy healing.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so. And because Jupiter is such a truth speaker, there could be a lot of truth coming forward about medical issues and medical matters.
Yes.
On this, you know, or this, remember, this is all around this Virgo full moon. Healing medicine. By the way, back on the 3rd, Hygeia, the goddess of medicine healing, conjunct Pluto. The following day, she moves into Aquarius. There's a lot of energy around health and healing. Pisces holds a lot of healing energy as well. It's more spiritual energy healing. Virgo is the practical healing, diet, herbs, so on. Yes. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. What about Mercury happening?
I know all this is going on while Mercury's in Pisces, and there were going to be days when we're going to go, I'm so confused.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? I'm just so confused because there's so many different things going on, not only with the planets, but that means there'll be so many different things going on in our lives.
Yes.
And in the world, like things is happening everywhere.
Yeah. I'm already having trouble sort of trying to keep track, and how does this piece fit in with this piece, and you know, all these sorts of things. I mean, I'm just looking in the war zone arena when I say that stuff, and I'm going, what? You know, and what's behind that? This is driving that, that's driving that, that's driving that. Like,
that's right.
It's like a big jigsaw puzzle with no edge.
That's right. And in the midst of that, we know that it's all, most of it is smoke and mirrors.
Yes, yeah.
Most of what we're being told is completely not true. But what is true, that's what we don't fully know yet, you know. So this is very Pisces Neptune as well. Neptune in Pisces since 2011, you know, we're in this land, this zone of smoke and mirrors, illusion.
Yeah.
Nothing's real.
Yes.
What's real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we gain out of that as a gift? I'm thinking. I guess it's then we're left to create our own reality, aren't we?
Yes.
You know, like we make up, I mean, there are things that are real, but then the rest of it, well, I thought this way and I had those beliefs, but actually, you know, those beliefs don't work. And that's not actually the way it is. And that information isn't, you know, what's coming out. And so you just go, well, I either just give up on all of it, or I just, like I've done, and we've talked about this, live in my own little bubble of reality.
Yeah.
And in a positive way.
That's right.
You know, be what is it, on in the world but not of it.
That encapsulates Pisces to me, being in the world but not of it, living this life in this world, in this body, but knowing at the same time that you're completely connected to source, to spirit, the divine, and that's what we are. But here we are living this life. That's it.
That's the shaman's path.
Yes.
Brings it right back to the beginning. That's the shaman's path.
Exactly.
A foot in both worlds.
And that's how I see Chiron. That's why, to me, he's very shamanic, because he does have that foot in both worlds, the divine and this reality.
Yeah.
That's right. And of course, Mercury in Pisces, to me, is very much about keeping a very open mind. When our mind gets closed and fixed on, this is what's true and this is what I know is true, well, maybe and maybe not.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or can we just say, actually, I don't know. I've heard about this and I've heard about this. This might be true. This might be true. I like to know both sides of the story and just go, yeah, I kind of feel like this is what it is, but I don't really know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think with Jupiter in there as well, expanding our perspective of things too. the truth of it all is that, as an example, humans see the sky is blue and the grass is green and the leaves are green, whatever, but only because we see it that way, because we only see between infrared and ultraviolet.
Right.
A whole lot of other insects and animals see way beyond
There's
that.
a whole other spectrum going on.
So there's a much bigger reality.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, man, interesting times. Oh my God.
We're going to have a lot to talk about.
Oh my God, yes. Wow. And I think too that this is a time, not just this month, but in the next couple of years with Saturn going through Pisces, to really avail ourselves of any kind of healing work, spiritually work that's available to us around us, you know, like going to the workshops, the ones that really call us.
Yeah.
You know, and that are very genuine and real, and like doing the work in whatever way that is true for each of us, you know, and our paths are all different and so on. But yeah, this is the time to do that and to really, really do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we have a few interesting. Oh God. Oh my God. Yes. How long have we got, Cheryl?
I'll keep going. We'll make it a bonus one this time.
Okay. So then Jupiter conjunct Chiron and Vesta on the 12th, 15th, 16th, 17th, there's a few days that are very Neptunian. I mean, it's all very Neptunian, actually. But I'll just sort of speak to it briefly. Mars in Gemini makes the exact square to Neptune. By the way, Mars is pretty well square Neptune all month anyway.
Yeah.
So Mars in Gemini, active, busy mind, square Neptune. What was I saying? What was that? And on the 16th, the Sun is conjunct Neptune. And on the 17th, Mercury is conjunct Neptune. So on those 3 days, we've got the Sun and Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces, all around 25, and all of that square Mars, right, at 25 Gemini. So again, there's this feeling of there's so much happening and it's all a bit confusing and chaotic and bewildering. And one way to move through that, I think, is to stay really open and very fluid. Fluid, flexible. You use the word dance very early when you're introducing this. And I love that. I think this is a month to join the dance, to be light on our feet, to not get rigid about our plans, what we think needs to happen, to stay very loose and very light on our feet, and to sort of see it as a dance. And I would even recommend actually dancing, putting on music and just dancing.
Yeah.
Keep everything as loose as possible. Get our thinking loose in whatever way we know that helps us. For me, painting and putting on music and dancing while I'm painting helps to keep me loose.
Yeah.
Gets me into the right brain and so on. Then on the 19th, Mercury leaves Pisces and goes into Aries. So the mind will start to kick in and start to feel a little more functional again. Right? Because it's not that functional while it's in Pisces.
Yeah. We might get a bright idea.
That's right. It's not functional in the sense I mean of being linear and logical. Don't expect it to be terribly logical while it's in Pisces. Let the imagination run free.
Yes.
On the 21st, the Sun moves into Aries. That's a powerful day as well. There's a number of really powerful markers all month. That is the Aries autumn spring equinox, which in itself, if that's the only thing that was happening, that would be enough to say, you know, that's a powerful time.
Yes.
Right? That's 0 degrees of Aries is a birthing moment, you know, and some in the astrological world, and I've often felt this, say that that's actually the beginning of the year.
Yes.
You know, when the sun's at 0, it's the beginning of the zodiac. It's the birthing.
Yeah.
So that's a potent day when the sun, night and day are at equilibrium. There's a kind of standstill, a stopping. It is a good day to take some time out and stop. And then on the 22nd, we have the new moon, which is at 0 degrees of Aries.
And
then on the 23rd, the next day, so it's just one thing after another, big things.
Yeah.
On the 23rd, da, 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 da,
Yes.
Pluto moves into Pluto will be at 0 degrees and 0 minutes of Aquarius. That just feels like something cracking open.
Yes.
A momentous shift of energy. People use the word portals a lot, and I've struggled a bit with that word just because it's thrown around so much. But I must say, more and more I'm going, yeah, these actually are portals. They're energetic portals opening up, the shifts of consciousness opening up.
Yeah.
And that's a big one.
So
on this new moon and solstice time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've got all these planetary gods doing their thing, rocking the boat, throwing in anchors and throwing out dead fish. I mean, feeding it to the sharks. I mean, all this stuff just going on and all in preparing us with as a process, astrological process, preparing us for that shift of the ages of Pluto.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And early in April, I'm doing a one-day workshop here, 2nd or 3rd or something, where we'll be just spend the whole day talking about this very issue, the age of Aquarius. And it seems like the appropriate time to do it with Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Absolutely. And I've gone back and I've looked at all the interesting markers when different slow-moving planets have moved to 0, in like Neptune and Uranus in the recent 2 decades or so have all come through Aquarius. And the moment they're at that 0 point. And even at the end of 2020, there was a very important Jupiter-Saturn conjunction at 0 degrees of Aquarius. I mean, seriously, the synchronicity of that's just mind-boggling, that it would be at that degree.
Yeah.
And a significantly important conjunction. And if memory serves me, there was even a Venus-Mars conjunction at 0 Aquarius in the last 2 years, I think, as well. And now we've got Pluto. So these 0 degrees of Aquarius moments are powerful energetic shifts and portals, just pushing us further and further into the Aquarian age.
Yeah.
By piece.
Yeah. Wow.
Shaking everything up.
And of course, it's going to go across my ascendant. So I'm very interested to see what happens to me.
Indeed, indeed. Exactly.
Yes.
I have one of the main asteroids at 0 of Aquarius too. So I'll be just curious. I'm super curious because it's not one that I feel a strong relationship with particular. So I'm very curious to sort of see what that might be showing up for me.
Yes. Yeah. Very.
And then there's one more piece. It's an action-packed month. On the 25th, Mars leaves Gemini and goes into Cancer. Now, Mars changes sign normally every 6 weeks. So you wouldn't think, well, that's not such a big deal. But it is in this instance because it's been in Gemini for 7 months, which is a very long time. The retrograde. So I was talking to a friend the other day and she's saying, I think we're all a bit over Mars in Gemini. And I thought, yeah, I think we are. So
time to move on. Thank you.
Yeah, even Mars is in on the act of, okay, time for a change of energy.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like everything's changing. If I was to say one thing for the month of March, it's just massive changes, one after another. And I think, then moving into April, the Aries month, it feels to me like in so many ways we'll be in a very new place, even on subtle levels,
Yes. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And in
Because
the world too, there's going to be a lot of, it's already a lot of action going on in the world. It's going to be a lot of action going on.
yeah. Well, that's what I've mostly noticed. I haven't noticed a huge amount in me, but I can feel subtle energetic shifts
Yes,
towards something which isn't crystal clear yet.
that's right.
You know,
And a part of that process is letting go and relinquishing certain
yeah,
things, isn't it? Things
yeah,
dissolving,
yeah,
falling away, just falling away.
yeah. Just going, okay, all right, I'll go along
That's right.
for the ride, see where
That's
it
right.
takes me,
See
and
where it takes us.
yeah, and not being focused on where you want to go, particularly, but where you feel drawn to go.
Exactly. What's calling us, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Mm.
the ocean, what are those currents pulling us? How are they pulling us? And are we going to go with the flow, which is such a Pisces phrase too? Or are we going to, are we see Saturn in Pisces can also bring up resistance to that. Great. I'm not going to go with the flow. I'm in control. I'm in charge.
I was just going to say that. Don't get caught in the rip.
Yeah, good luck with that in the next 3 years. You know, if we're wise, we will learn how to navigate these currents and work with it.
Mm,
You
mm,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's a word we'll be using a lot.
Oh, interesting. That's right. That's right.
It's sort of exciting because I do like change. I'm
Yeah.
not a person, I'm not a Taurian type at all. I don't
No,
want
that's right.
to,
Me too. Me
yeah,
too. My life's been full of change.
yeah. And I really love change. Because even though sometimes it's tough, I always come out the other side of it better than what I was beforehand.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm going to use the word reset, which has become a bit of a
Mm.
terrible word in recent times because there's one kind of a reset that certain powers that be are endeavoring to set up for us all. But this is a different kind, really,
Mm.
at its best. This is a different kind. Someone, you know, pressing the reset button. Okay, we need to rethink and reevaluate everything in order for us to move forward into a completely different paradigm and a higher consciousness and create a literally a new world and a new earth. That's what's going on here. And it's not going to happen overnight, but it's a process.
Yeah.
But this is a moment of acceleration, like
Yeah.
rapid acceleration.
Yeah. You know, when the pandemic started, we were saying very similar things, but that was a forced reset.
Yes.
Or it wasn't even a reset, it was just blow everything up,
That's
blow
right.
our lives up. But we were forced to change. This time we have an opportunity to make the choice to go
Yes.
with the flow, don't we?
Yes. Yes. And to be willing to keep moving forward and let the past fall away. As I said, it's going to be a lot of closure and a lot of endings in all kinds of ways. You know, like, oh, well, that's over. That's gone. That person's out of my life. That job's finished. That phase of my life is finished. You know, a lot of that. Tying up loose ends. It's the last sign of the zodiac.
Mm. Mm.
Be interesting, Cheryl, when we're here having these conversations in 2026, looking back.
Oh my gosh.
I know, my God.
Another 3 years, we're going to reproduce what we've done the last 3 years. It's amazing.
Maybe we are.
Yes, yeah.
Be a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for all that information. That's a lot.
It is a lot. It
Yeah.
is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you've
But you know, that means that there's a lot happening too. There's a lot
yes.
for everyone. So yeah, just got to keep breathing, taking moments out, grounding, earthing,
Mm.
resting.
Mm.
Deep breaths.
Yeah. Giving ourselves time to process.
Time to process it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much.
You're
And
very welcome.
I want to say I'm going to look forward to the next episode. I'll just get over this one first, okay?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll come back in 2 weeks and see where we're at then.
Yes, yes, we will. So until then, everyone, stay safe and stay healthy. And if you can, keep smiling
And go with the flow.
and go with the flow. Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
uh, so for now, it's goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.